Welcome everyone to the final round of the Norway Chess 2026. We have Grandmaster D.Gukesh, the world champion, coming in as a lot of people try to flock him. Gukesh tries to tell everyone that he'll do it after the round, but a lot of people have come in, and as the signal is red, well, Gukesh thought maybe I can spend some of my time giving these autographs. He does not enjoy that before the game to interact with people. You can always see Gayevsky, who is calmly walking by his side. It's the big encounter for Gukesh because he takes on Magnus Carlsen in the final round of Norway Chess. Both of them are on the bottom two positions here, and they would like to win and not finish last here. Gukesh takes his chair. He did lose to Magnus in their first encounter here, and it's been a tough event for both the players. Magnus losing several games, Gukesh as well. But this last game is something that, if goes well for Gukesh, could be amazing. And of course, Magnus would want to beat Gukesh. Calmly adjusting his pieces there. And the fight for the top spot is between Pragnananda, Wesley So, and Firuja, who are playing on the other boards. So 2 hours to both the players as Gukesh settles in and waits for Magnus Carlsen to arrive. And there you have the GOAT coming in, a handshake, and we have the Secretary General of FIDE, Lukasz Turlai, who's there to make the first move. And Magnus looks very focused. He adjusts all his pieces. Gukesh versus Magnus encounters have always been very interesting. Last year we did see the table bang incident, and then this year Magnus won quite smoothly with the black pieces against Gukesh. And now, can Gukesh get the point back is the question. There's always a bit of nervous energy before the game begins in chess, and so Magnus prefers to come at the last minute. And it's very cool that in Norway Chess, almost on each and every board, there is an opening move made by the guests. And Lukasz asks which move to make, and he plays the move pawn to b4. And that makes a lot of sense because it's known as the Polish opening, I believe, or maybe it's d4 b5, that's Polish. So, but b4 maybe a little bit of resemblance to Polish opening, and Lukasz is from Poland, so that could be the idea. Okay, anyway, the players are now ready. It's going to be an excellent fight, and 2 hours each to both the players. No time increment, but you get 10-second increment after 40 moves per move. And Magnus opens the game with pawn to e4 and gets up, and Gukesh goes for the Caro-Kann. He plays pawn to c6, fighting opening here by Gukesh. And Magnus plays pawn to c4. And now this is lesser played than pawn to d4 on move 2. But Gukesh plays d5, you take, and after c takes d5, if Magnus does play d4, we reach the Panov-Botvinnik attack here, which is well known. But there's also c takes d5 here, he takes it. And if you take with the queen, there's knight to c3 move. So not taking with the queen is right. Knight f6, you are attacking the pawn with your knight, and bishop b5 is an attempt to keep the pawn in this position. But knight c3 is effectively saying that I'm ready to give up this pawn. I'll play knight f3, d4, play with an isolated queen pawn. Gukesh takes the pawn on d5, And now knight to f3 is a common way to continue. At some tournament, I did play with black here, knight c3, bc3 and g6. And I think that was playable. But Gukesh goes for the more solid knight c6 in the center. Bishop b5 played. And once again, g6, e6, both are options. Gukesh goes e6 to get his bishop out. Yes, his bishop on c8 is a bit restricted. Interestingly, Magnus has played the same opening 17 years ago. He played this against Jan Smeets at Tata Steel in 2009. So Magnus is aware, d4 castles and plays rook e1. And now Gukesh takes his time and plays bishop d7. In a way, he's ready that if Magnus takes on d5 to make the structure symmetrical. So the bishop drops back on d3. And now what will Gukesh play here? He goes rook to c8, keeping an eye on the c3 knight. Magnus takes on d5. E takes d5. And now knight jumps into e5. So taking here is not such a bad option because yes, while this exists, I think it's a decent position here for black. So this is playable, but Gukesh goes bishop to f6, keeping an eye over here. And bishop to f4, defending the knight. This was exactly what was played in the Smeets versus Magnus game. g6 played here by Gukesh, just making square for the bishop to drop back, also limiting the bishop here. Queen b3 with a double attack on b7 and d5. And Gukesh now has to be careful because if he takes on d4, queen takes b7 is better for white. So he goes knight a5, the best move. And now here you have queen to b4. And bishop e6 can be a possibility. Gukesh plays it. Bishop to e6. And rook a d1, the first new move of the game that Magnus has played. And rook e8. If you look at the position, it's very symmetrical and kind of around equal. a6, b5 could be an idea, or bishop e7 directly could be played. The only thing that is in Magnus's favor is that his pieces are slightly more active. So the bishop attacks the queen and the queen has to move. I guess queen a4 makes sense. And now maybe once again a6 seems like the natural move here. Gukesh goes queen to b6, and this is not the best move because of bishop b5 attacking the rook and preparing here knight d7, but he plays directly knight d7. And this may not be the most accurate move because now Gukesh can take. If he does not take, then the knight jumps back to c5. So for example here, knight to c5, and you can't take here twice because of b4. So that's the reason why he takes on d7. Magnus takes back. The bishop is hanging on e7. Knight comes back to c6, defending the bishop and planning rook d8. Queen takes d5. And now rook e d8. And so Gukesh gets back the pawn in the center. And queen to b5 played. Tempting now is to take queen d4. It's a tough move to make, and Gukesh does not play it. He plays bishop f6, which is also a fine move. He keeps an eye on the d4 pawn. Queen takes queen, bishop a takes b6. Such positions are a little bit difficult to play against Magnus. He's so good at grinding such equal endgames. Bishop e4. And now maybe you can take with the bishop, take with the knight, take with the rook. All moves look fine. He takes with the rook. And Magnus takes back on d4, I think. Yes, rook takes. And now very important for Gukesh to take with the bishop here, because bishop takes d4, he keeps an eye here, but he takes with the knight. And this is a mistake, because what he's missed is that bishop takes b7 is a very powerful move. He takes the pawn. I think Gukesh's plan is rook c2, and he gets threat of knight e2, and b2 is hanging, but he's missed bishop h6, a very, very strong move threatening a mate. And I don't know if Gukesh overlooked it or no. He goes knight e6. He's still attacking b2 and a2 pawns, but maybe this is the move he overlooked. Rook c1, fantastic move by Magnus. If takes, rook c8, knight d8. This is very passive position and white is better here. So Gukesh takes, and I think he's still forcing things, because he could keep the rooks on the board and go into that variation that we just saw where he had some chances to hold, but I think going here is just looking bad. Knight to c5. One thing that you can see Gukesh has done well is kept a 30-minute time lead. So this is the thing which Gukesh has calculated, that now he can go knight a4. And his point is, if you play b3, then knight c3 attacks here, check, and a2. So definitely not that. King f1 is a beautiful move by Magnus. And he sees that actually he doesn't have to keep the material equal. He can simply bring the king in. Bishop e3 is coming. This shows the power of the bishop pair. Bishop e3 attacks the pawn here. Magnus down to 2 minutes 20 seconds. Gukesh has 34 minutes. King comes to e7. And now king d2. Yes, he brings the king in. King d6, not possible. Bishop takes f7. So knight a4 played. And now king d3. He moves the king up. And will Magnus be able to win this position in under a minute? That's the question here. Because while he's winning, he goes bishop b3. Beautiful move. Well, if you go knight c5 check, king c4 is the point. f5 quickly played by Gukesh. If you take here, I take, and then this pawn is weak. So king to b5. f4, and you don't want to go into this opposite colored bishop position. It's a draw. So bishop d2 by Magnus with just 20 seconds. King d7. Gukesh plays, and now you can chop off the pawn. King takes b6. Knight to e4. The pressure is mounting. Maybe bishop e1 to defend the pawn on f2. He goes bishop c1 even. Magnus is incredible intuition here that his bishop needs to be here. And now should we start pushing the a pawn? No, he goes bishop d5. Very good move. If you would have played a4, then maybe bishop d4 check was strong. So bishop d5 check now. And the point is king b5. Comes back. g5. And king to c4. Attacks the bishop. Bishop goes back to b6. Bishop f3. And now knight to h1. Well, Gukesh is going somewhere far away with his knight to get it out. Bishop d2. This game just shows you the power of the two bishops. Knight g3. The knight is back. And Magnus now has 10-second increment per move. He goes a4. And Gukesh goes king to c7. a5. Pushes forward. Bishop f2. And king d5. Oh, interesting. He's now saying like, this pawn will keep you engaged here and my king will go this side and try to win material. Can Gukesh trade all the pawns on the king side? If that happens, he can get a draw. King b7 played. But now bishop f6. Yes, he plays bishop f6. And g4. Trying to trade pieces. Take, and bishop g4. You're going to lose the a5 pawn now. First knight f1, threatening a check to win the bishop. To be careful. Ooh, a6. Magnus finds the trick. King a6, bishop e2 check, and you lose the knight. So king a7 and bishop e2 is the only move. He again finds it. This is just insane play under time trouble. Knight d2 and bishop d4 check should do the trick. Trading at the right time makes sense. And he finds it. It's like playing against an endgame machine. Just not putting a foot wrong here, Magnus. And now there's no way to prevent the fall of the pawn. Bishop takes f3 was important, because if gf3, knight f3 is a draw. So bishop f3, king a6 taken by Gukesh. Bishop d5. Dominating the knight, cannot come here, here, here and here. And even though you have a pawn which is far behind, it's actually now going to rush down the board. g4, knight f1. I mean, the knight wants to come out, but g5. And Magnus even has increased his time to 32 seconds. Knight g3. Okay, if you go g6 now, maybe check or knight h5. He goes king e5, centralizing his king. And what a beautiful display of endgame by Magnus. g6, the pawn is queening. The knight has to go to h5, and now bishop f3, knight g7, king f6, and knight e8, king e7, and the pawn will queen. Gukesh resigns there. Magnus Carlsen has played an amazing endgame. Gukesh kept very good time on the clock, but somehow over the board his position deteriorated. He didn't see a couple of moves by Magnus. Maybe rook c1 was the move he missed. And Gukesh is like, I should be lost. And for Magnus, well, he's a bit unhappy with his own performance. I'm pretty sure he's also not very happy with this game that he beat Gukesh. Somewhere he has said it in an interview that he would want Gukesh to make a comeback, for his match. But yeah, that's how things are. And that's the end of Norway Chess for Magnus. He finishes 4th in the tournament. Vincent finishes 5th and Gukesh is 6th. And we leave you with some final moments of fans getting few minutes with Magnus Carlsen.
Jeg har ikke turnering, men jeg vant i dag i hvert fall.
Thank you very much.
All the way, let's go!
Gratulerer så mye. Takk. Kan ha en minutt. Magnus, kan jeg ta bilde? Tusen takk. Tusen takk. Gratulerer. Skal du ned? Du kan fejle bedste. Ja, hvad er klokka? 21:17 eller 21:15.